So welcome everybody, if this is your first time, and for everyone who came back, thank you for coming. And we're very excited to have Uncle Wally Ito and Miwa Tamanaha and some other folks from the ʻEwa Limu Hui tonight to talk about Limu and the importance of rehabilitating those ecosystems and its importance in nutrition and also culture. So we'll take it away, Uncle Wally.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. So this is kind of like the plan for tonight. We have set up a PowerPoint presentation. Miwa's going to do the first part. I'm going to finish the PowerPoint. And then after that, hopefully only 30 minutes. And I'm not making any promises, but we try to keep it short, leave time for Q&As. And then we're going to move to the demo area. And I'm gonna show a little bit about how I do stuff. And then the plan, this is for you guys. So we bought fish, we bought different kinds of limu, and the plan is for you guys, you see the 4 like stainless steel tables over there. You guys gonna break up into groups and go and grab a piece of fish, go and grab limu, or I'm sorry. The plan, you guys huddle up, form your groups, huddle up, and you make your own plan. And I'm going to show you in a demonstration what we have available. Then you guys go and huddle up, make your own plan. Come get your fish, get your limu, and whatever condiments, and then you're going to make your own poke. Okay. And the whole idea is, the way I got this idea is that, when we do talks, especially with younger kids, like, oh, how many of you eat limu? Oh, hands go up to, oh, what kind of limu you eat? To, oh, in a poke. What kind of limu you use in a poke? They don't know, And another thing too that I've noticed is that the limu in a poke is usually not a native limu. It's limu from different places. And so we need to go back to learn our own native limu. So that's part of what we're going to try and present here. And then I talk too much. So turn it over to Miwa, and then
we're laughing because I think Uncle Wally, whenever he gives presentations, he gets like nervous. And, I was voluntold to share a little bit about ʻEwa Limu Project and the Limu Hui, and a little bit about some of our origins in this work. So, I just wanted, I think, really wouldn't feel, like where it feels good to start is actually with who taught us. This is Uncle Henry Chang Wo Jr. He's one of the, like a really beloved elder in the ʻEwa Beach area. He learned his limu practice from his mother and his grandmother. His grandmother's from Maui. And also from Uncle Walter Kamana, who's from Nanakuli. And I think Uncle Henry was an amazing, like a fisher person and a diver, but really like later in his life developed this really deep passion for sharing about limu. Limu is such a humble thing, but it's really is the base of the food chain. So he would often say like, no limu, no fish. And when he saw limu disappearing from the shorelines in ʻEwa, he felt this real calling to try to talk to people about that, and to see what he could do to share the word. So this is a picture actually that Kim Moa took of Uncle Wally and Uncle Henry out at One'ula. This is really Uncle Henry's limu grounds, and today we try to go as much as we can to just see what's going on out there and to take care. One of the things that Uncle Henry would share often is about the connection between fresh water and limu. I think people think, oh, it's just salt water and sunlight, and that's sort of true, but you really need these inputs of fresh water that come down in from the mountains out to the shoreline to have those really healthy limu beds. And so Uncle Henry would also say that the limu is really born in the mountains. And so where that fresh water originates up in the mountain, that's where your seaweeds are born. And so it was really important to him that we understand that connection, and that also we're like actually going out regularly and going and being in relationship with the limu of our places. This was a photo from the ʻEwa Historical Society folks. But this is, you know, kind of a lot of the memories that people have of ʻEwa Beach, but also places on other islands like Kihei, where you would have the sandy beach and this long limu line, and people would go out and collect what they needed from the limu line. And this is really what's been disappearing. I think anecdotally, we hear a lot of stories about the 90s being kind of a tipping point when people started to see declines, and it really matches up with a lot of the urbanization that we've seen in a lot of our communities. And so again, when you think about that flow of fresh water and what like widespread urban development does to the hydrology of a space, and then how you're going to see that on the shoreline. I think one of the other things that I wanted to share about this picture is just that I think for many of us that do limu work, and I know for me, I think one of the most enriching things is that anytime you talk to somebody about limu in any community anywhere, they have a story. And it's usually a story of going out and gathering with somebody that they loved. It's their like auntie or their uncle, their grandparent, their great grandparent. And so you'll hear these stories. Someone was like, last week, somebody was sharing with me a story of their grandfather who had a house by the canal that comes out near where this is, but in ʻEwa Beach. There's actually a limu management area that Uncle Henry helped to get established. And there's a canal over there, and his grandfather would go out in the morning and go collect limu and go clean it. And then he'd spend the morning delivering it to, you know, all his neighbors and family. And then the rest of the day, like people would be coming up to the house to drop off, you know, like things for them, that kind of, that way that we take care of each other in a community, and how limu has traditionally been a part of that. This is a photo of Uncle Walter Tamanaha. So this is one of Uncle Henry's teachers. You can see Uncle Henry's kind of standing in the white tank top behind him, and that's Uncle Walter in the green shirt. ʻEwa Limu Project really started in the 90s with Uncle Walter and Uncle Henry, and they would set up the tent and they would do limu plantings and share with people about limu every weekend, or maybe every month. And they continued to do this for about 10 years continuously. Uncle Walter passed away, and like different things intervened, but I think that Uncle Henry's really continuous work over the years has like seeded people like Jenny and Kim, and now we've got Patricia, who never even met Uncle Henry, but you're part of his legacy too, who are really thinking about like through limu planting. So there's limu planting in Waimanalo. We just did our first big one in Wahiawā on Maui. We've also got the folks like Jenny. She does a regular kilo of limu, so she's bringing people out to Papakaha, which is the reef kind of near kind of Pupukea side, like, so people call it Shark's Cove, but it's on the other side. Which is bringing people and kids and families, intergenerational, out to like be in and with limu. And then we have things like tonight, where we're gonna try to continue traditions of having these tastes on the table. Because if you think about the 90s being like where we lost a lot of, I mean, there have been losses of gatherers every generation, but the 90s being a drop off of where you had the limu line that people would go and gather, that folks, you know, my age and older, like haven't had these tastes on the table in a regular way, like these native limu tastes on the table in a regular way. But these opportunities that we have to bring them back. So this is the mission statement of ʻEwa Limu Project from back in the 90s, and I just wanted to read it for you, and then I'm gonna turn it back over to Uncle Wally. Did I do an okay job so far? Yeah, okay. Where are the older women that used to walk our Hawaiian shores with their children following close behind, looking through squid boxes or feeling with their feet for limu to feed their family? Where are the children playing in the sand, catching crabs and swimming in the water? Where are the men laying or throwing net to feed their families? Where are the families camping and sharing days on the beach, enjoying the warm sun, nights cooled by ocean breezes and the beauty of the ocean? Why is it parents no longer teach their children about the ways of the ocean and how to care for the earth? Because we have forgotten and these things are slowly becoming no more. The last line of the mission statement is, help us restore what once was.
Thanks, Miwa. No, I don't have to do all the talking. I can get, next time you're gonna do the whole thing. Okay, so the next part is about, so you know, I mentioned about making poke. So this next section of our talk is about different kinds of limu that we brought for you folks. Okay, the first one is this is for Limu Kohu pickers. Like, this is what we dream of, you know, and there's a closer view of that Limu Kohu. So this is a really nice, healthy bed of Limu Kohu. We were in Canada recently, and there's a lot of research being done on Limu Kohu, and for folks like Dave Krupp, Asparagopsis taxiformis. Yeah, you know what that is. There's a lot of research being done on this limu because it has shown that if we feed cows a small percentage of this limu, it cuts down a high percentage of the methane production. So methane is a like greenhouse gas that we want to try and control. So this is one method of just a kind of like a demonstration of how we try to pick Limu Kohu. And this is not a whole, a nice rich bed that we saw in a previous frame. But it's more like a demonstration, and people use different methods, scissors. Auntie Nalani from Kauai, she uses a knife that, cut the kohu. Me, I grow my thumbnail long, so I just like scrape. What we don't want to pull the whole face off of the rock. Limu Lipoa. One significance about this photo of Limu Lipoa is that's Uncle Henry's hands. So Uncle Henry was really good at finding finding Limu Lipoa. When I walk with him, I follow him, I cannot find the limu, and he brings up the limu here. This is the Limu Lipoa. And this is in an area that's very sparse of that limu. Limu Lipoa, for those of you who not familiar with this, every once in a while you see this, brown limu that's washed up on a shoreline in different areas, and kind of like this. This is Waimanalo in 2020, and this is an abundance of Lipoa that nobody. Even the old timers in Waimanalo, they said they haven't seen this much. They remember the regular annual coming of the Lipoa washing up on shore, but never in their lifetime have they seen this much Lipoa. So this video was taken in anticipation of this class. We wanted to present Limu Kohu for you guys to use. So Miwa and I, we went out to our secret spot, and this is a short video of you can see the nice rich abundance of Lipoa. And here's another video. This is a demonstration on how we pick this limu. I don't know if you can tell, but she uses two hands. So one hand holding down the whole fast, the other hand is tearing off the blades from the limu. And that way we leave the holdfast. As long as we leave the holdfast there, the limu can continue to grow. But if the lazy style is to go down there, grab the whole thing and yank the holdfast off, then the limu power already. And so we try to, harvest in a sustainable manner. And one of the things, I have to mention this now, one of the things that people talk about when harvesting anything, harvesting in the forest or go hunting, only take what you need. Yeah, everybody heard that, in a sustainable way, only take what you need. And I have a lot of different thoughts about a lot of different things. And it's not only take what you need, it's take what the resource can provide. And so, if we want to harvest Lipoa or Kohu, and you go over there and, it's really sparse, like no touch, no take at all. But if we come to an area get plenty, take whatever the resource can provide and share with people. Yeah. So it's not like you should take, I hear like 10%, like, no, don't work that way. It's take what the resource can provide. Every resource, telling you that we cannot provide for you today, then you leave it alone and you go pick something else. So the next part, so I've been lucky to be a volunteer at Anuenue Fisheries Research Center. This is on Sand Island. If you look at the photo, like across the harbor, this is Honolulu Harbor. Across the way is Aloha Tower. I have access to 8 limu growing tanks. And these are, so we brought some of that limu for you guys to use today too. Huluhuluwaena or Pakeleawa'a. Another more modern common name is ake limu, and a lot of people know this as chop chop. Ake limu, anybody eat ake anymore? Yeah, ake, this is a raw liver dish that you gotta kind of get the taste for. But people nowadays, the people who used to make ake, they don't make it anymore because they cannot get this limu. This limu, ake limu used to be so abundant, but it's hard to find nowadays. So we're growing it in tanks, providing it to limu restoration people. So try to bring back limu in this limu in places where it was once abundant.
Are the tanks connected to the ocean? Is there a concept?
Oh, good question. Okay, so this is a aquaculture research facility, a state research facility. They have a well on property. So it's well dug into Sand Island and it's pumped up, and that's the water we use. Well water, salt water, yeah. And there's certain characteristics about this water, if you're taking notes. Number one is oxygen poor. Number two, it's high mineral content. And one of the minerals of this water is silica. And so we have a huge problem. If you know silica, if you know diatoms, we have a huge problem with controlling diatoms. So that's our work. ʻEwa Limu Project, we go here, twice a week. We gotta take the limu out, we wash it, and transfer it over to a clean tank. So thank goodness for volunteers. I get volunteers to scrub tanks. This is one of the significance. So Huluhuluwaena or Pakeleawa'a was one of Queen Liliuokalani's favorite limu. And we know this because of this announcement in a Hawaiian language newspaper. I believe this was in like 1903, 1904. This is also Queen Liliuokalani spent the latter years of her life living on the shoreline in Waikiki. And she planted different organisms, and the limu that she brought over from Lahaina to be planted in front of Waikiki is the Huluhuluwaena or Pakeleawa'a. And this is an announcement taken out in the Hawaiian language newspaper by the territory of Hawaii. And see, this is an announcement of prohibition. So, and so, in talking about the different organisms that she brought to be planted, This announcement says it was her very own chiefly hands that planted and propagated these things shown above and caused them to thrive, and whoever shall gather these restricted things will be arrested and punished by law. And this is a kapu, this is a recognition by the territory of Hawaii about cultural practices, about cultural significance and cultural practices. And so today we support, our ʻEwa Limu Project supports several Limu restoration efforts. And a big part, this is an important document for us, this justifies that, this shows that our Limu restoration effort is a Hawaiian cultural practice, and this is done by the Queen, so, leave us alone, let us do our practice. Ekaha. Ekaha, other names for this is ne or nei. Dave, Guadalupia fucosensis. This is a Guadalupia. Huluhuluwaena is also a Guadalupia. Guadalupia filicina. This is a Guadalupia fucosensis. Ekaha or nei. And we found some. I found actually quite a bit. So we harvested some. We brought them into Anuinu fisheries. We put them in the tanks, and it's been doing pretty good since then. There's not a whole lot of limu that does well in aquaculture conditions. So that's part of what the work that we do is we go out, we survey, we see if we bring them in and we put them in the tanks and see if it'll do well or not. This one does, the 2 Guadalupia species so far is doing really well. We just started a third, trying a third Guadalupia, the Guadalupia hawaiiana. Common name is Opihi limu. So 3, hopefully now we're going to have 3. The thing about growing limu in tanks, in aquaculture tanks, it changes over time. And so this is the morphology. This is how it looks now after growing in our tanks, a little bit different. And in addition to this, this is under no shading conditions. We've been using, for a couple years now, we've been using shade cloth over our tanks. We find that it doesn't affect the growth rate of the limu. What it does is it cuts down on the growth rate of the diatoms. So we have to clean the tanks less now. I don't know if you guys know, but Hawaii has a state limu. How many of you know that? Yeah, not too many. Okay, so 2023, as part of the Limu Hui, part of the organization that the ʻEwa Limu Project, Jenny was a big part of it. Jenny and Malia Hemuli helped push that through the legislature, the legislative committees, and so Jenny and Malia spearheaded that effort. April of 2023, Governor Ige signed the bill that now declares Limu Kala. Sorry, I should have shown the picture earlier. Limu Kala as our state limu. This is a closer picture of the Limu Kala. Now there's like about 3 more common species of Limu Kala. It's the broadleaf one that you see kind of on your left side of the screen. The one on the right is more like the thin screen, thin blade Limu Kala. And why? So we went to testify at several legislative hearings, and one of the questions that I had to answer was, why this limu? And so for us, this Limu Kala is, as far as Hawaiian culture is concerned, this is the one limu that has many, many uses. Food, medicine is used in ho'oponopono, which is the conflict resolution process. But also, we tried this a couple times. People use the limu to catch kala, the fish kala, and other things. One limu that we did not bring to this workshop, which, if you think about limu in poke, you think about this limu. This is the ogo. And the main reason we didn't bring it is because our ogo culture crashed, like couple months ago, so we don't have any to bring. But you know, that gave us the opportunity to showcase other limu. And this limu was once very abundant along the shoreline of almost all over the island. And people say, oh, the limu's disappeared, it disappeared. But you see all the brown spots in the front? This is that limu. And so it's still around. It's just people need to go out and go survey our limu, find out what's happening with it. And that's a big part of what ʻEwa Limu Project does. In poke, fish, yeah, is important. So in following in the theme of like a value-added product, you know, for me, in my kind of convoluted thinking, like, you know, poke, if you use like expensive fish, you know, you don't want you want to bring out the fish flavor. So in this, for us, as a value added, we want to bring out the limu flavor, the limu texture. So we got, I like to use, we brought nairage. Nairage is striped marlin, because it's less expensive than other fish. Okay, so one of the less expensive fish, and you know, ideally make poke, like I like, you know, if you can catch your own and, you know, fillet and make the poke out of that fish, that's the best. But, you know, a lot of us not as skillful, so we got to go to the market. So another reason I wanted to show you this photo is that we should be supporting our local market. Your neighborhood restaurants, your neighborhood mom and pop stores, you know, your local, and it's too many times where there's big market chains coming over and taking over, and you know, and we lose the small businesses. And plus, this is from my place. I grew up in Kapalama, Ahupua'a of Kapalama. For many years, I grew up in Kalihi. So as I tell people, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Kalihi. And then I got to learn more and said, oh, Kalihi is actually like Kalihi is actually this narrow Ahupua'a of continuing the valley all the way down to Kehi. And next to that, the Kamehameha schools is Kapalama, is right, another small, narrow Ahupua'a. I grew up in Kapalama, but I still consider myself Kalihi boy. So this is the ogo that you find in markets, and you know, this is not a native limu, and this is what everybody thinks that, you know, this is what everybody uses and sees in a poke, but it's, look at that. It's selling for $10 a pound. Okay, that's it. So, any questions for me or Miwa?
Who's growing the limu that they sell in the stores?
I'm sorry?
Who's growing the limu that they sell in the stores?
Oh, well, I go to Maracay, and Maracay almost always have and it's Kahuku, somebody in Kahuku. But there's also, since we're mentioning names, Katase, Katase on the Big Island at Nelha. He's growing, I believe this one also, Tikvahe. I don't think anybody's actually growing our native limu. Yes.
I was a little girl. My grandfather would send me some kilo from Papa. And I wondered if the lineage food, if this particular limu was still around. I don't see it.
So
It's the limu heritage.
I'm sorry.
It's my grandfather would gather this into a pama. And I don't see this particular limu around, and I wonder if the Limu Kohu is familiar with Limu Ele.
Ele needs like fresh water. So, when we lose that fresh water, we do like urbanization kind of decreases the recharge of our aquifer. We lose that fresh water, that groundwater. And with fresh water doesn't necessarily mean surface stream water. A lot of it is underground springs coming up on a shoreline. The ele, Huluhuluwaena are associated with those, the underground springs. And when we lose that, we lose the ele. Miwa harvested some, maybe we saved that for you. There's a small container of ele that she prepared. And one of the things, I mentioned earlier that, I think different from most people, so I have different ideas and different concepts, yeah. And one of the things that's different from the conventional thinking is invasive, the term invasive. For me, invasive is not, sometimes, there's a whole list of invasive species, invasive limu. And for me, it's, a lot of that the limu on this list, it was put on the list because it was pretty troublesome in a certain area at a certain time. But, invasive to me is not the species, it's behavior. So what I'm getting at is we grow limu in our tanks. And we're going ekaha, we're going Huluhuluwaena, we try that ogo. The ele comes out. If we don't clean the tanks regularly, ele comes out. And that's invasive to me, for me. Yeah, we don't want the ele. And so we have, it's growing in certain places in the facility. So Miwa was able to harvest some the other day, so she got some prepared. So maybe you can try that out.
You folks mentioned the Florida ogo being grown.
Yeah.
And that's in tanks, yeah. Are we worried about that accidentally entering our ecosystem?
Yes, good question. For me, going back to my definition for invasive, I'm not worried. And I'm not worried because it's been around, people have been growing it for a while, and I don't see it growing out in the wild. I don't see it exhibiting invasive behavior. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not worried.
I think I have seen it like actually we were just driving, like where you see gorilla ogo, sometimes you'll see that the Florida ogo, similar conditions, but not invasive in the same, not acting invasively in the same way that I've seen. I don't know what
Yeah. So we had a question in the back, way in the back.
Was there a time like gorilla ogo? Was that introduced? Do we know how it was introduced?
Yeah, I kind of know the story about it. And it was introduced to Hawaii. So this goes back to the early mid-1970s. So if you're familiar with Kaneohe Bay, it's not only gorilla ogo, it's the Acantophora and Eucuma. I think those three were brought in for research purposes. And, I'm not going to mention the researcher's name, because when I first heard the story, I'm like, wow, this guy's pilau, what he screwed us up because, we brought in this limu that, kind of like exhibiting like invasive behavior. But, you got to think back to the time. In the late 60s, early 70s is when sugarcane, pineapple was on a decline. And people were scrambling around, like the legislature, people at the legislature had conversations about like what we're gonna do now, what we're gonna do with no more sugarcane, no more pineapple. And so the thought at the time was to develop the aquaculture industry, which is a great, we're in the middle of Pacific, surrounded by water, that's a great idea. In fact, the Anuenue Fisheries was created to do that, to help promote the aquaculture industry. And so this researcher, seeing that Eucuma, the Acanthophora, was being was a cash crop in Southeast Asia. So what if we brought it here into Hawaii, see if it'll grow well in Hawaii, and maybe we can tap into some of that, the economic value of this limu. And it didn't work out. Financially, it didn't work out. So like, okay. But it took like 25 years before people started to see the invasive behavior of that. By that time, it's kind of a little bit too late. So that's what I know about the Acanthophora and the Eucuma. The gorilla goat, the gorilla goat, the story is that it came on the hull of a ship from Guam in Pearl Harbor. And within 10 years, it was found all over the state. I don't know if that's a correct story, but it was brought in somehow and kind of took over. But that's the story that I heard. Question? Comment? You had something?
Yeah. So it's my understanding, like the Acanthophora, my understanding is that did come with the bottom.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. What I said about it was
the
the Acanthophora.
Capophycus and the Eucuma and the Gracilaria salicornia, gorilla ogo, but those were brought in to do aquaculture.
Yeah.
And they had pens on the reef around Moku'oloi, and that some of that limu got out of that and spread through the bay, and stuff. And then, of course, at that time, we were also experiencing problems with sewage discharge into the bay. The nutrients really caused proliferation of some of those alien species.
Yeah. So do you hear that? So what I talked about on the Hull of Ships was the Acanthophora. Yeah, thanks for correcting me. So the gorilla ogo and the Eucuma and the Capophycus were brought in for research at HIMB on Coconut Island, but it took like I've been diving since I was a small kid. So I dived Kaneohe Bay for many years, and it wasn't until the 1990s that I noticed Eucuma and the Eucuma kind of taking over the coral, up to there. So it took like 25 years.
So it actually proliferated through the 70s, and like south end of the bay where the nutrient load was really high from the sewage. The reefs were completely devastated by primarily Capophycus and Eucuma at that time. And I remember when they diverted the sewage outfall off of Mokapu, the water quality changed immediately, water got clear, and actually the invasives died back for a while. But they did come back up again in the 90s. So there was not as bad as they were in the mid 70s.
Oh, okay.
So I just remember because I came here in 1976 and being out on the reefs, Kaneohe Bay, and just seeing the devastation from that. But yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, of course.
Is it a health concern to collect limu in areas where there's a lot of cesspools nearby and a lot of sewage runoff?
Okay, this is again, I call it the world according to Wally Ito. There's different thinking from everybody else. The cesspool is not a problem for Limu. The cesspool, the problem is what we put into the cesspools. Up until the late 40s, 1950s, waste was going into the cesspools, and that's providing nitrogen for Limu. From the 1950s is when we started to bring, Ajax, Comet, chlorine, all of that is going into the cesspool, for many, many years. I mean, for like, waste was used for the fertilizer. So, it's using of the chemicals and putting the chemicals into a sewage system. To me, that's world according to Wally. That's just my opinion. If we can go back to, just only waste and keep the chemicals out, I think Limu actually can come back. We actually had, during that sewage dumping into the South Bay of Kaneohe, we had a lot of Limu.
Yeah.
People were talking about, fishermen talk about like going on skips, and getting a rake and like 3 scoops, you can fill up this whole bucket, they take it to the market. So, so that's, it's the chemicals that is kind of screwing up.
So Lester Zucker was the shop supervisor at the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology.
Yeah.
He complained because he used to, when he got done at the end of the day, he'd go out fishing in Kaneohe Bay. He had traps and everything and stuff, and he sold it to the local markets and stuff. He complained that after the sewage outfalls were diverted, and what was going into the bay was primarily secondary treated sewage, so the health risk was reduced. But he complained that, a little bit of sewage helped the fishery.
Yeah. Oh, Kaneohe Bay was a rich fishery. People like mullet or omaka. We don't see omaka anymore. Like schools of omaka in Kaneohe Bay. We don't see omaka anymore. Yeah. Yeah, question?
When you collect limu, does it go on ice?
Oh.
And then how long, what's the shelf life like?
Oh. We're still learning that. Yeah. Harvesting, depending on the limu. Yeah. And this goes back to Hawaiian cultural knowledge. Okay. Western science classifies limu in 4 major categories: red, brown, green, blue, green. Hawaiian science, 2 classifications: 1-day limu and more than 1-day limu. Yeah, 1-day limu and more than 1-day limu. So what that means is, there's certain kinds of limu that you pick today, you pretty much gotta use it or eat it up within the next, that day or the next day. And there's certain kinds of limu, like the Lipoa, that if you can pick today, you can harvest today, if you prepared, salted, and kept under the right conditions, you can keep for months. And this is, of course, this is going back to the days when no more refrigeration. Refrigeration can extend the life of limu. To me, like I've kept, so the ogo is considered a 1-day limu, but without refrigeration. But I've kept ogo in bags, in plastic bags for up to a week. But the trick is that every day I gotta look at the bag, the Ziploc bag, yeah? You put them in a Ziploc bag. Every day I gotta hold up the bag, and if there's water accumulated in the corner, I gotta drain that water. If the water sits in there, the limu deteriorates much quicker. Yeah, so keep it moist, but not in sitting water. Any specific limu you thinking about? Yeah, Limu Kohu. So freezing, salting, yeah, a way to keep the drying. Yeah, drying is good. I have sun-dried limu, and I have and if the weather's not right, I have like you buy a smoker, that small smoker. So I use that. I turn the heat on without the smoke, of course. Turn the heat on, open the two ventilation on the bottom and the top, and I have dried limu that way. But I'll also do sun-dried. I prefer the sun-dried.
You
Right? How long does it keep?
Oh, you can keep it for a long time. Yeah.
You can definitely dry the limu in the oven, like just, you know, real low, but just, it'll make your whole house
Yeah.
smell like limu.
Yeah.
Just be prepared for that.
But one thing I kind of like, and I learned this by accident, if you over dry it in the oven or in my smoke box, it gets really crispy and it'll crumble, and so you can make like furikake. You can just crumble them and then spread them over your musubi or your rice.
Add some sesame seeds. Throw them.
Yes.
What kind of support does ʻEwa Moku need to be its best? What kind of supports do you feel ʻEwa Moku needs to continue to perpetuate ʻEwa Limu?
Yeah, ʻEwa Limu Project.
Need to continue to perpetuate its.
Okay, so this is, we have existed from Uncle Henry days with all volunteer, yeah. And the support that we've been getting, you know, to me, the most valuable support that we've gotten in more recent times is the connection with other Limu people.
Well, I think back to like 2012, you know, I was talking to Uncle Henry. We were actually up at Koala, and he was honestly talking about giving up. I think he was just like, I don't know, maybe this is not the right thing for me to be doing. Like, he didn't say it that way, but just he was tired. I think just the ono of the people, like all of you coming today and your interest. I was looking back at this newspaper article from the 40s in the Advertiser, and it was an op-ed by somebody in Waikiki, and they weren't talking about the loss of limu. Actually, this was in the 40s, but they were talking about where are the limu gatherers, where are the women in their mu'umu'us that used to be along the shoreline and gathering limu. And so it's like the ono and the interests of the people and the like health and the well-being of the limu, they run together, you know. And so, yeah, it doesn't, I don't know, I don't think it takes a lot, but it does take that spark or that care.
Yeah, I like the point that you made about, you know, you guys showing up tonight is like motivation for us to continue. It shows the value of the work that we're doing. And we try to pass that on, also pass that on to other Limu people, the people who are, you know, in order for Limu to, Uncle Henry, one of the things that he said, he taught us many things. One of the things is that the Limu is an indicator of the health of the Ahupua'a. And he knew that because he continued the practice of kilo. He went down, kind of like we trying to continue that too. So we go out and we look at Limu, and we pass on that knowledge. And you know, people who show interest in what we learn and what we know is kind of like motivation for us to continue. And yeah, so yeah, big mahalo to you guys for showing up tonight. Yes.
Does anyone from your network sell commercially? Or do they all just gather for their own needs and their friends? And if no one is selling, where is the best place on the island to go buy?
Most of the folks that do limu commercially are not selling native, but you can get the ogo like at Marukai. The two main species that people tend to grow are the Florida ogo or this agardiella. Is there a common name for agardiella? Anyway, they grow faster, so they're more viable commercially. There is I think some folks on Hawaii Island that are also selling commercially in a co-op. So there are people that are thinking more about, and I think that's part of we've been working with Janelle from Go Farm over here, thinking and talking about what does community scale commercial limu look like that can provide for the tables in our communities and for restaurants or small businesses so that we can continue to have these tastes on the table. But I think we're kind of early in those conversations about what that can look like. I think Nelha also has some commercial native species that they're growing, but not to sell in the supermarket, but like there's a product that was developed here using a native limu I think it's a cracker, that's coming from Nelha. So Nelha is on Hawaii Island, and that's a huge aquaculture facility. It used to be for OTEC, but now they're using that deep water to do, actually the largest limu growing at Nelha is for vitamin supplements, and also not a native limu, but yeah.
So one more point, are you doing that? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm using
Halamina
from Era over in yeah.
Oh, that's yours. That's awesome.
That's me.
That's exciting.
We gave them the seed stock. So the limu that you're using came from our facility. So for us, it's about perpetuation of Hawaiian culture and our cultural knowledge about limu. So, not so much commercialization of it.
But Uncle Wally is just as a commitment from and he's probably been one of the people that's been growing limu the longest continuously in aquaculture conditions, but he made a commitment when he started that he doesn't sell. And so all the limu that is produced by the volunteers at the state facility is all given out to community to replant or to use for community celebrations or things like that.
Well, thank you for everyone's questions. I think the discussion will continue as we do our activities. So I think we'll take a few minute break and then we'll move on over to the media kitchen and we'll learn how to prep some poke. Thank you, everybody. We just wanted this is pretty much the end of the workshop today, but thank you everybody for coming to the Wahiawā Value Added Product Development Center to learn about limu with Miwa and Uncle Wally. And mahalo to the rest of the limu hui that came. There's a handful of them, and yeah, thank you everybody.
Thanks everyone. Done.
Again, thanks again for coming. So, I don't know, I'm glad that we didn't have a judging contest because, we've had to pick the best. But we have extra limu, we have quart-sized bags. You want to take home limu, come up and grab some, okay?
Great. Awesome. Go Limu.
Go limu.